Welcome everyone to Live 1,000 Years. Today we're going to read from Subchapter 1, Diet, in Chapter 2, Health. The article is entitled, The Fat Fad. When I was a child during the 1960s, I ate just like most people in America. For breakfast, I ate sugar-coated cereal with milk with brand names like Cocoa Puffs, Captain Crunch, and Trix. Anyone remembers the slogan, "Tricks are for kids." After one bowl, I flew out the front door for school like Superman. For lunch, my mother packed me a brown paper bag filled with a sandwich consisting of white flour bread, a slice of processed meat, and cheese and mayonnaise, along with one piece of fresh fruit such as an apple or banana, and best of all, a delicious dessert treat such as Oreo cookies or a chocolate ding-dongs or Hostess Twinkies. For dinner, my family would gather around the dining room table exactly at 6 o'clock p.m. for Mom's home-cooked meal, which normally involved beef or chicken or lamb, a green vegetable that I often fed our dog beneath the table, a baked potato overflowing with melted butter, and a great big glass of homogenized and pasteurized milk. And then the 1970s arrived. Seemingly overnight, our entire family's eating habits took a major U-turn. As I mentioned, it all began with that famous photograph entitled Earthrise. This single photograph showed how beautiful yet so fragile our planet really is, and how all living things on Earth are interrelated to one another. A tiny blue and white and brown spot in the midst of an eternal black universe. I vividly remember my mother hopping aboard the environmental train and pulling our family aboard with her. Off we went to the city called Healthy Eating. We ate Quaker Oats Life cereal for breakfast, whole wheat bread with free-range chicken for lunch, and fresh fish, steamed vegetables, balsamic rice, and organic milk for dinner. Our new lifestyle was complicated by strange-sounding vitamins like CQ10 and herbal supplements like ginger, basil, and rosemary, and plenty of garlic cloves. It seemed as though everything the federal government once recommended I eat was now on my mother's toxic list. As the years went by, I gradually noticed that many of my friends and their families did not view food the same way my family viewed food. At times, I was asked by people to explain my mother's healthy eating lifestyle, but it felt like preaching a new religion to strangers. They wanted nothing to do with it. They voiced all kinds of arguments. Nobody's going to tell me how to eat. No one's going to keep me from my delicious steak. Who needs vegetables anyway? They don't fill me up. I like white bread and real milk. You better be careful. You're going to catch some awful illness drinking that organic milk stuff. I learned to quietly mind my own business. To tell the truth, I kind of missed all this sugar and processed foods for several years, but all those new books my mom left around the house brainwashed me. Besides that, I really enjoyed how much better my stomach felt every day. I had plenty of energy too, and I stayed lean and trim. In a nutshell, my family never looked back again. As the 20th century drew to a close, I noticed big changes happening to my friends and their families who mocked my new eating habits. Many of them started gaining weight, and I mean a lot of weight. They also sat around the house more. In fact, sometimes I couldn't even go over to my friend's house because their parents were recuperating from some devastating heart or brain surgery. Seeing my friend's father reveal a long Frankenstein scar down his chest after open heart surgery made my stomach nauseous. Watching one side of my friend's mother's mouth go numb with drool coming out of it when she talked after suffering a stroke really freaked me out. I also noticed many needles lying around my friend's home as a result of their overweight parents injecting themselves with insulin on a daily basis due to their new onset of diabetes. It was about this time I began traveling around the world. During my trips, I observed firsthand the cultural differences between the American lifestyle and people living in other countries. Two good examples involve the people of South America and the people of Asia. While in Medellin, Colombia, in South America, I witnessed how people naturally exercised and ate. Because of income limitations, South Americans rarely owned automobiles and therefore walked between their homes and jobs and public transportation facilities. They also cooked most of their meals at home because of their financial budget. For breakfast, they normally ate fresh fruit and empanadas filled with egg or chicken. For lunch, they routinely enjoyed sancocho soup filled with chicken, vegetables, potatoes, and avocado. For dinner, they often grilled meat with steamed rice and ate a lettuce and tomato salad afterwards. I had never before seen anyone eat a salad after their meal. Well, except for when I was in Paris, France. As a result of their walking and eating unprocessed foods, most people in South America maintain normal body weights. While in Tokyo, Japan, I witnessed the excellent public transportation system that enabled people to live without automobiles. As a result, the Japanese walked everywhere. I also witnessed the radically different eating habits between Americans and Asians. For instance, I recall spending several hours at the Tokyo, Japan airport for a layover. The terminal had two restaurants which shared a common wall. One restaurant housed a fast food Burger King establishment, while the other restaurant housed a Japanese noodle house. At the Burger King, overweight Americans quickly devoured double quarter-pound beef, bacon, and cheeseburgers, and large bags of French fries with big gulp sodas. In contrast, thin Asians at the Japanese noodle house slowly ate out of porcelain bowls filled with soba noodles, fish balls, and vegetables. My world travel showed me something really scary was happening in America. In Japan today, there's more than 44,000 Japanese who have reached 100 years old. That's actually 44,000 Japanese. According to the United Nations, in the report called UN Chronicle, the Atlas of Heart Disease and Stroke, Japan has one of the lowest rates of coronary heart disease in the world. However, the report also found that Japanese had a gradual increased risk of coronary heart disease after moving to the United States and adopting the American eating habits, eventually approaching and equaling people born in the United States. In the United States today, 2 out of 3 Americans are obese or overweight. We even invented a new word for all the really fat people: morbidly obese. Oh my God, it sounds like leprosy or the bubonic plague. This new fat fad has taken America by storm. All kinds of heart surgeries have arrived on the American scene: angioplasty, coronary artery bypass grafting, single, double, triple, and quadruple heart bypass, artificial heart valve repair and replacement, transmyocardial laser revascularization, and the granddaddy of them all, heart transplants. Today, a heart bypass surgery can cost anywhere between $70,000 and $200,000 or more, depending upon the hospital and surgeon. Heart disease has become the #1 leading killer in America. A shocking 27.6 million Americans have been diagnosed with the killer disease. That equals 11.5% of the total United States population. This new fat fad has caused many other lifelong medical issues, including diabetes, which now strikes children and teens in record numbers, as well as adults. Historically, children and teens had type 1 diabetes, otherwise known as juvenile diabetes. With type 1 diabetes, a person's body cannot produce enough insulin. In the past, children and teens very rarely had type 2 diabetes, which is commonly known as adult onset diabetes. With type 2 diabetes, a person's pancreas produces normal insulin, but the cells become resistant to the insulin. Approximately 15 years ago, doctors began for the first time diagnosing more and more obese and overweight children and teens with type 2 diabetes. As each year passed, the number of diagnosis cases continued to escalate. According to the Journal of American Medical Association, there were approximately 3,700 new cases in 2007 of type 2 diabetes amongst children and teens. In 2008, new cases rose to 5,089 cases. By 2012, 29.1 million Americans had acquired diabetes. That's nearly 10% of the total American population. The current annual medical cost associated with diabetes is a mind-boggling $245 billion. Fortunately, there is some good news. Medical professions agree that a risk factor for type 2 diabetes includes lifestyle decisions such as obesity, and that type 2 diabetes can therefore be eliminated or reduced by proper eating and exercise habits. On a flight back home from South America, the new Fat Fad turned into a grand apocalypse for me. I secured a window seat in the plane, hoping to snooze for 5 hours. And then it happened. A woman sat down next to me in the middle seat, or should I say, in both our seats. Her body, the size of my laundry room washing machine, filled the entire space of her seat, plus half of my seat. I couldn't even sit correctly. I had to turn sideways. I paid for a coach seat, yet this woman now occupied half of my credit card payment. Where's the justice in that? I managed to summon the flight attendant, but she brushed me off, explaining that the flight was full. To make a long story short, I got zero sleep on that flight. When I finally arrived home, I dropped to my knees and raised both hands high towards heaven. I promised my Creator right there and forever I would always maintain a normal body weight so long as I lived. Amen. I kept my promise too. So far. New scientific research demonstrates that eating less food could be the key to a longer and healthier life. Evolutionary biologist Dr. Margot Adler of the University of New South Wales in Australia led the research. She discovered that cutting back on food intake in mice increased the rate of cellular recycling and repair mechanism in their body. Other studies have shown that a 40% cut in food intake extended mice life by 20 to 30%. There's also evidence it occurs in primates. One recent study found that a low-calorie diet slows down aging and fends off diabetes, cancer, and dementia. I know 2 primates who validate these studies. My parents. Both my mother and father are alive and living today in their mid-80s. They're still eating the same healthy foods my mother taught me about during the 1970s. They told me they're taking no prescription medications whatsoever. They also informed me that their obese friends have long since died.